I had been staying at my mom's house the weekend prior, and I woke up that morning with my bedroom door being kicked in, and at the bottom of the bed I had a big screen TV. My mother came in and said, "Craig, look," and she turned the TV on, and I sat up and I saw the huge hole in the fire that everybody else saw, and first thing that went through my head is, oh my God, I have a post in that building. There's guys that I know in that building. And I had heard a bunch of guys that I knew on the radio who were down there on the site, and they were yelling back and forth to one another. And I said, screw this, I'm not waiting here anymore. And I went out and I walked down there by myself. And that was about just a little bit after 5 o'clock. And as I approached, came down, saw the big hubbub going on around Building 7, walked around it. I saw a hole. I didn't see a hole bad enough to knock a building down, though. So, yeah, there was definitely fire in the building, but I didn't hear any, maybe this is movie crap. I didn't hear any creaking, or I didn't hear any indication that it was going to come down. And all of a sudden, the radios exploded, and everybody started screaming, "Get away, get away, get away from it!" And I was like a deer in the headlights, and I look up, and I think I remember pretty clearly the two guys that I knew were on the transit radio. I don't know if those tapes are out there, but I can try and look for them and show you exactly what I'm talking about. But it was that moment, get away, and I looked up, and it was nothing I would ever imagine seeing in my life. The thing started peeling in on itself, and I mean, there was an umbrella of crap 7 feet over my head that I just stared at. And somebody grabbed my shoulder, and I started running, and the shit's hitting the ground behind me. And the whole time you're hearing thum, 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 thum. So I think I know an explosion when I hear it, So yeah, I want to know what took that building down. I don't think it was a fire, and it certainly wasn't a plane. Yeah, it had some damage to it, but nothing like what they're saying. I don't know.
Nothing to account for what we saw.
Nothing to account for what we saw, correct. I am shocked at the story we've heard about it, to be quite honest. And, I supported the original story at first, and I thought it was really unusual after the 9/11 Commission report came out, that not a lot of people read, by the way, that there wasn't anything in it about that. I mean, the statistics that are coming out now, that 70% of us are getting sick, 70% of the first responders are getting sick, it's on the money. And the only reason that we are getting sick is because Christy Todd Whitman and the EPA lied through their teeth. They gave us Home Depot equivalent drywall dust masks to wear, man, while working on top of a pile of steel that had an incinerator running underneath of it.
Lord knows
it melted the soles of my boots walking around on it. Somebody knew. Somebody had to know. The guys with the CDC vests walking around. These people, to wear that vest, they've got credentials, man. They know the chemicals that go into the construction of that building. The engineers that built it are around. They knew that there was asbestos from the basement to the ceiling in both of them. That stuff was... it was pulverized. It was. We were breathing. There's no denying that. They had an an EMT worker who saved his uniform in plastic, get it tested this year. Had 98,000 times the acceptable asbestos limit, not to mention the rest of the heavy metals and poisons that were on it. And the 98,000 times, or it was 96 or 98. You're gonna have to check my figure on that, but yeah, it was up there. It made my eyes pop out of my head when I read it. And sure enough, I'm sick, as are 70% of everybody else down there. You have nuns who volunteered from elsewhere in the country. That nun who wants to be autopsied when she dies. She's dying right now. You know, I mean, I think the number, I say 20-something because I don't know the exact figure. It's 24 or 26 first responders have died this year alone. And the symptoms that they came down with, I mean, the numbers have quadrupled, you know, from the original people who were, the further we get away from the incident, the sicker we're getting. We keep hearing about funds that are being set up and money's being set up, but none of us have seen that. It hasn't trickled down to anybody. Oh yeah, I mean, initially the victims' compensation came out, and you know that was rampant with fraud.
You had to sign a paper saying you wouldn't sue the government.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody wants to fess up. Nobody wants to admit that Christy Todd Whitman just came out and said that she stands by her statements. Well, of course she stands by her statements, because if she didn't stand by them, she'd be a liar. And that's what she was. She was a goddamn liar. You know, go back to work. It's all right. Go about your business.
Go shopping.
Go shopping. You know, Giuliani walking around down there, I got a pat on the back from him once down there. Wear your mask. You know, wear your mask. Wear your mask. Did he care, or was that liability? I don't know. You know, you ever tried digging on top of a furnace and melting steel and having a dust mask on? It's not easy. I'll ask any official at the Pentagon, what the fuck are you trying to hide? If a guy performed superhuman aeronautic stunts and was able to fly that plane into the building, and the Pentagon people with their cameras can find you on their property and kick you off in X amount of time, they can show me a couple of tons of steel slamming into the building.
Flying over a suburban area first.
There's something with that plane on it, and you can't tell me that those 8 frames, and the video that they released later on with a little bit more than 8 frames that had a cone of something and then an explosion. I mean, yeah. You can do better than that, and you're not fooling anybody. Right? This it's enough. It needs to be investigated.
Yeah, you think 5 years is enough time?
Yeah, and it's certainly enough time to implement suggestions for our own security from the 9/11 Commission report, which haven't been done still to this day.
Even that, even the results from the FARS haven't been acted upon.
Yeah,
but they did publish a book.
I mean, what does that tell you? What does it tell you? They make these carved in stone, really important. We need to do this for our security statements, and they don't do it. Well, if it's that important, why aren't you doing it? You know, it would be like, what's a good analogy? It's like a criminal that got away with something, you know. Why do I have to worry about covering my ass with this? You know, like, if it's that important, implement them, for Christ's sakes. You know.
Or if you were caught off guard, why don't you act like it?
Exactly. You know.
It seems like that. If September 11th were truly a surprise attack and we saw none of it coming, they wouldn't be so reticent to release to us the pertinent information surrounding 9/11. Videos from the Pentagon, the 7,000 photographs and 300 hours of video that NIST is sitting on and refuses to release to the public.
If this was a surprise attack and nobody saw this coming, why did we have the whole slew of them up in front of a podium saying that nobody saw, nobody ever imagined a plane being used as a weapon like this, or nobody saw this coming? We hear that Israelis were warning us of it, you know.
The Taliban warned us.
Forget the warnings. What about the put options on American Airlines stock? That's a fact. It happened. It's documented. You know, the mayor of San Francisco was warned 8 hours before. It's documented. He didn't fly that day for a reason. He was told not to. You know, if nobody ever envisioned planes being used as weapons, why is there a photograph from the year 2000 of a plane in the middle of the tabletop model of the Pentagon? You know, why the fuck was Dick Cheney in charge of NORAD that day? Why? No other civilian member of the government has ever been in charge of NORAD before. Why? What does an oil man, what does this guy from Halliburton have to do with running NORAD, for Christ's sakes? You know, he's not a general. He's not somebody who's supposed to run a war game.